Hello, hello. Oh, sorry about that. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? If you can hear me, just let me know. Yeah, you know how it is. Bit of a impromptu stream. What am I turning into? Everything I hate, apparently. But yeah, we are here again. My hair's wet. Did just get out of the shower, so bear that in mind. I know everyone talks about my haircut a bit, but it is what it is. How are we all doing today, guys? Yeah, so not the best news. I can't lie. I think everyone had a little bit of a crash out last night over the Trossard news, including me. Like I did make a video, which was quite negative, but it is what it is. I think we understand a little bit more why they've done that. Does it still make complete sense? It's not 100% still like foolproof, but I think it makes a little bit more sense. I think in that sense. Yeah. Hi guys. Nice to see you guys in the chat. It's been quite a weird one because, I mean, we all talk about injuries, we talk about padding out the squad, and it's a bit frustrating when one of your key players who, I was ready to make videos about why Havertz should be playing against Liverpool, how important he's going to be in that game, and he's not going to be there, which is not great, I think, in terms of other things that we are seeing with the team. But, it is what it is. Is what it is. Home this year's breakout season. I mean, I think with Havertz, like, it does look bad, doesn't it? Like, we'll go into the reports quickly. We might as well now. Like, I ain't gonna wait around, Nice to meet you guys. Where is right? Sorry. Oh, that is not the right thing. There you go. Yeah. So basically, we'll go into it here. Like, Arsenal forward Kai Havertz set for a spell out with knee injury. Assessments on 26-year-old international at early stages. So, yep, that big word, prognosis. I'm not good with words. I don't know if you guys realise. Duration unclear. But, I mean, like, the way he's talking, it does seem quite bad. Obviously, maybe ACL, maybe other things as well. I mean, the rumours I've heard about 3 months, but it's way too early to assume. But if Arsenal are looking for an active replacement in the market, I think then we can all kind of say that it's probably quite a long injury. We know what our team are like. They don't make transfers when they need to half the time, let alone like being forced into one. So it's just frustrating, isn't it? How can we have 3 strikers technically? I know Havertz technically isn't, but we'll count them for our team's sake. And 2 of them are out for loads of months. Like, they're both probably going to come back around the same time, maybe October, November. It's just, well, yeah. You know what? It is lucky we didn't sign Benjamin Šeško, because Benjamin Šeško would have been daunted by the task of having to start for us for 3 months. At least I'm a little bit more happy with Gyökeres in that role. I mean, Gyökeres is still not going to help in certain games. I think against Liverpool, like, it's just not a game you want him to play in right now. I think, you need to give him a couple of months until he's ready for that sort of game. I think we saw the same against United, but, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. Well, we'll go into some players. There we go. That's 4. I need to probably name my stuff, don't I? Like, it's just not very named very well, is it? I got this stuff and I just call it scene 1, 2, and I'm just clicking on the random scenes. Right. So, I want to get your guys' like opinion. Obviously, the Trossard deal, I think most of us can agree, it didn't make much sense in the context of yesterday. Does it make more sense now? Yes. Is it foolproof? No. Like, I still think, giving someone a pay increase, I know it's a nice thing to do and he deserves more money considering his play for the club. I understand that. But, I mean, personally, I just don't really get it. I don't think we should be doing that. But it's fine. It's whatever. In my opinion, how I see things right now is that, I mean, there's been reports that in training today, in the open training that they did, that Trossard has been experimented up front. I still prefer Martinelli up front to Trossard. I know some people don't. Especially considering how bad Martinelli is on the wing right now. I just think as a backup striker, he wouldn't be the worst option in the world. At least he's like quick, can get him behind. But it just seems like that's not the direction we want to go in, so it is what it is. I think, personally, Trossard is being re-signed maybe just for that security, because maybe, like, he is still, like, there is teams that want him. And I think when you take in the fact that, like, Trossard and Martinelli could easily go to, like, striker, I think we should still sign a left winger. Now, we will go through strikers as well. There is a few strikers that I'm looking at. But obviously, this is very impromptu. Like, I did all my striker research months ago now. Most of the strikers that I spoke about, like Ekatike, Sheshko, you know, have kind of moved to clubs already. So in my position, like we'll go through strikers. I want you guys to let me know who you guys think, and we'll go through them. But I don't, off my top of my head, like, I can't name you many good strikers that are available. Obviously, there is a couple that I know we're talking about, and we will go into, but it just seems like a difficult position. I do think it is easier if we just move Trossard to striker for now as a backup, or Martinelli, whatever one you want to do, and then just buy a left winger anyway. I think that would make a lot more sense in that terms. I need to shut my blinds. There you go. Right. So, yeah. Okay. So, right. First of all, in the chat, before we get into, like, these questions about, like, how the team fits and stuff, how the team fits, like, do you guys think we should buy a striker or a left winger? I've seen some people say attacking midfielder. I think with this knowledge as well, Eze makes even less sense in many ways. Like, I know he would have helped, but he's not a winger. And I don't think that really helps us, an Eze left winger and, like, a Trossard up front, like, in certain games. Like, I don't think that's good enough. Like, so I'm not, like, that bothered about a midfielder coming in at this rate. But I think, in my opinion, it has to be a left winger. But there is strikers. If there's a deal to be made for some strikers, there is definitely a deal to be had. So, yeah, see, it seems a lot of you are, like, kind of on my wavelength a little bit. A left winger, because we need a left winger anyway. So, if anything, if we've been forced into a move, this makes the most sense. And also, like, you guys are alluding to it in the comments, but there's a lot of left wingers that we have looked at that are arguably, like, false 90 striker type players. Like, we will get into them, but they are players that can play more central roles. Maybe not like a striker role, but they can definitely help in striker. And I personally think, like, if we're going to be smart in this market, we just buy a left winger. Now, what I will say off the bat, like, we are going to get injuries this season. I think that padding out the squad was the right thing to do, given that. I think, obviously, Ben White apparently is injured as well. He did come off with a slight, like, knock against United, so I guess that makes sense. And maybe that's a little bit more of a precaution, because I think we could play Mascara right back. I think we can play, obviously, Timber. So that's not too big of a deal right now, so we can bring them players in. But in terms of striker, like, we've got all these players and they're just not fit. So, we need more attackers as it is anyway. I think this does free up some space in the team eventually. Like, if you think about it, if Kivior is reported to be leaving, like, I mean, it looks like we might be moving into that direction with Porto, maybe, if they don't try and scam us. If we get rid of, like, Zinni, maybe there's been rumours about Turkey. I don't know how reliable they are. Obviously Vieira, I think, will leave. I think Nelson will leave, probably be a loan, but I do think he will go. If these sort of, like, players start to move out the squad, I do think there's also a space for Max Dowman. Like, I think I was talking a couple of weeks ago saying, like, I can't see him getting in the team just because of the amount of depth we have. Like, Norgard didn't even get on the bench against United. But I do think with these couple more injuries happening, like, Max Dowman is closer than ever. Moving Saka to the left is certainly an option. Right. That's all I want to say on that sense. So I see some suggestions in here. Like, for left wing, we'll go into striker a little bit in a minute. I think left wing's the more interesting one, so we'll talk about some left wingers first, and then we'll go into some strikes in a bit. But I see some people in the chat seeing Leao and Lookman. I think Leao, Lookman, Rodrygo are probably the three we're talking about. Realistically, we're talking about Rodrygo and Leao anyway. I know Leao didn't really seem very likely, but, we were speaking about him. And it seems like Lookman is now quite prevalent, given the price that he's reportedly going for, and the fact that, like, you need a player in now. Let's get Lookman. So I understand it in that perspective. Wait, give me a sec. You'd think I would remember the scenes, but I still don't. It's probably not the best. There we go. It is up there for you guys. Now we get the little tactical board out. You know how it is. Just so it, we can visualize things a little bit more. So in terms of this team is I will say I think for now, let's say against Leeds, let's say against Liverpool, we don't have a left winger in. Let's just assume that, and even if we do, they're probably not going to start. I would expect personally, like Martinelli might have to start just given where we're at, but I also think that there's quite likely that you just see like I think Saka will be used on the left. More than people think. And I think Madueke will use on the right. And I actually think I prefer this than doing it this way. Is it really that backup for Saka if we're just moving Saka to the left? Now, that's an argument to have. But that's why we hopefully would buy a left winger as well. And I think it solves multiple problems, buying a left winger, not just this Havertz problem that is obviously there. So I think this will be something we do quite a lot. For now, obviously, we'll move Saka back to left. Madueke can play on the right. I think against Leeds, I'd rather see Madueke on the right personally, just for that sort of game on the left. Sorry, for that sort of game state, and the fact he can get at them one-on-one. But I think in majority games, like against Liverpool, I can see Martinelli still starting for now. How it is. So when I look at this, I've got a few players on here that you guys can't see. They're off the screen. I will bring them on in a sec. Obviously, we might as well talk about him first. We'll talk about Rodrygo. Obviously, Rodrygo, in my eyes, I know a lot of people have kind of alluded to that he's quite similar to Leandro Trossard. I think in terms of how he maybe dribbles, the kind of slow start to get into a dribble sometimes can be a little bit like Trossard, but I've always kind of alluded to him being a little bit like Martinelli. And that's purely just for reasons like he likes coming inside in these sort of areas. He rarely ever goes on the outside, but yet again, has played on the right a lot in the last 2 years. So it's kind of hard to figure out how well he'd do on the left because he just hasn't played there a lot. But he is like a Martinelli, like an inside player. As much as Martinelli, I think, likes the positions in the box, I actually think Rodrygo is absolutely fine from outside the box. And Rodrygo is an elite dribbler. He's one of the best dribblers in the world. I think barring Bino Gittins, he was the best dribbler on the market. Maybe Leao, you could argue. I think Leao's definitely up there. I think I would have a debate there about which one's better. But I think in terms of tight area dribbling with players around him, I think Rodrygo is better than him. Or maybe just slightly, not that big. But I think that's where Rodrygo really is that player that we want. Now, the problem with Rodrygo is we just don't know what's going on with him. If Arsenal don't go in for Rodrygo and he stays at Real Madrid, in my eyes, that kind of makes me think that he wasn't available because I think Arsenal are trying everything they can to have got him in if he was available, and I just don't think he is, unfortunately. So, if Rodrygo wants to waste his career not playing at Real Madrid, I know it's crazy to say at Real Madrid, but, he didn't come on yesterday and they played Mastan Tawano and Brahim Diaz in right wing over him, and he didn't come on in left wing either, and Garcia came on as well, sorry. So, yeah, I don't know. If he wanted to become the main man at Arsenal, he could, and he could easily do that. But if that's not his intention, if the price is maybe too much, because it is a lot of money, especially with the wages, then fair. I would want Rodrygo. I think a Rodrygo kind of, in a sense, saves our window. I don't want to say that in we've had a good window, but in my eyes, it kind of makes it okay, yeah, fair enough. You've done what you can to. But, yeah, Rodrygo is a person we spoke about loads. It is whatever. We're not going to talk about him too much here. I've got loads of videos on him. We can watch that. Now, this is the guy that a lot of you guys have been speaking about is Ademola Lookman. Now, on the stream I did a couple of days ago, we had questions about Lookman, and I wasn't the high. I like Lookman, and I don't want to get this wrong. I have question marks about him, but then yet again, I have question marks about Gyökeres. I have question marks about Madueke. So, not every sign is going to be perfect, and, I've got to understand that as well. So, in terms of Lookman and what he brings to this team, I think it is maybe something we don't have, especially on that left-hand side, but I'm not necessarily sure how it specifically works. I do think with these players on the pitch right now we have on that left side, Rice and Calafiori, it works more than if I put a Miles in there or maybe a Merino. But I do think Merino could work with him, actually. But I do think it is a very interesting one. So what I want to talk about with Lookman is, obviously, unfortunately, it's a stream. I can't bring up clips or anything, but, I'll try and explain it the best I can. So basically, we talk about inside forward types. Lookman is an inside forward. And for Atalanta, they mostly play a 5-back. for the most of the time he's been there. So what that means is they've obviously got a wing back. I think it was Zappacosta. They might have changed it as well. But I know Zappacosta did it quite a lot for them over that side. He might have been on the right actually as well. Anyway, doesn't matter. Lookman plays purely just in these areas. Like, he doesn't even really start wide like we talk about Rodrygo or Leao, or even Martinelli has to start in these wide areas. You look at their heat maps all the way out there. Lookman doesn't do that. He starts purely in these areas. This is where he receives the ball. This is where he wants the ball. This is where he takes players on. Now, in this area, he is very good. Like, he is very good as a guy that will receive the ball, players around him, one touch pass. Like, he is a very quick dribbler in that sense of an action. As soon as he receives it, goes past a player. If any of you remember that Europa League goal he scored in the final, the second one I think it was, where he like picks the ball up, nutmegs Xhaka, curls it into the corner, like 3-4 touches. That's like the instant reaction you want from Lookman. And in terms of like Arsenal being quicker with a shot, he would help that. Like, he would fundamentally help that. He is very much a player like that. And he's not wasteful. He's good outside the box. In these areas, in terms of shooting, like from here, he's probably a better player than Rodrygo. Definitely a better player than Martinelli, who like never shoots outside the box at all. Better player than probably Gyökeres from them sort of curling in efforts. It's a very specific area of the pitch. Obviously, I think when you get closer to the goal, you would want someone like Rodrygo, or even maybe Martinelli. But I think this is where you're going to get, you want him to receive the ball. Now, there's also ways he's used for Atalanta in terms of like being that kind of ghosting player. Like, he ghosts in the box and finds areas. A little bit like how we kind of use Martinelli, but we haven't done as much. If any of you remember that goal that Martinelli scored last year, it was Timber kind of overlapped for Saka. It was at the start of last season, I think. And Timber puts a ball across, and then Martinelli, where is he, comes in here and kind of puts that ball in the corner. That is very much like a Lookman goal you're going to see. Lookman on the other side, bear in mind, like he actually prefers it on this side, which is funny because obviously the wing back works for them. But they'll have someone who like works as the wing back, bees that like player out wide. They will flash in a ball like low. It won't be a high ball, low, because he's not that tall. And he will be that guy that's like very aware, runs into the box at the right time, and then gets a shot into the goal. He's a good extra man in the box. He's not someone you want to sit in the box generally. You probably want him yet again to sit in these areas and then to run in when he wants. And that's kind of how he's been quite effective for Atalanta, which, you know, we could do. Now, my first big question of that with the team is that we, first of all, need a fullback that is going to be out wide a lot. Now, Calafiori is great at it. I think we saw it against United, like his overlapping play, some of the play that he does is brilliant. And I really think that is like something that will be used even more this season. Now, there's a few problems with this. Like, Calafiori's not always the fittest player in the world, and we all know that. And can we rely on Calafiori to start like 10 games in a row? That's a problem. Two, the real benefit of having a Calafiori within the team is his sort of chaotic nature. In many senses, like, he kind of just operates in this entire area. Like, this whole area, he will just run around, he'll make runs, he'll be the +1, he'll just make things happen. And even arguably, like we saw it in the Man United game, but even deeper, like in these positions, he's just making runs, doing what he wants, progressing the ball from central of the park sometimes. That forcing him to be out on this wing side position does stop that. It stops the unpredictability about him. And considering he's like the only real player on our team that has any unpredictability, it just feels like that might be lost a little bit. And I don't know if he is exactly what we want in that area in terms of thinking about it in that way. Now, yeah, I don't know. It kind of just depends on where you think you like how much you will be willing to give up the effect of someone like him in order to make that work. But ultimately, that's not the problem. The issue as well, I think, with Calafiori being in the team compared to a Miles, is that I think when I look at it, I think a lot of things that people don't really realise is that, especially in the United game, a lot of the times where Calafiori's bombing forward, one of the reasons why Martinelli works is because of his work rate. I know, work rate, who cares? But he kind of covers quite a bit for Calafiori, not like physically and like very well, but he is in the right areas. Lookman isn't a player that's going to run in these positions unless you're in a low block. he will purely just stay near the box, which I think can be a problem in many ways. I think that means you have to have someone like Gyökeres run back a lot, and I still think Gyökeres is still learning that quite a lot. And I think, I think if a Havertz played with Lookman, that would work a little bit more. But, this is the whole problem with the whole Lookman situation. Now, I will say, given where the market is at, with Lookman's reported price being around 45 million euros, maybe. I know there was some problems with the whole reason he didn't go to Inter in the first place. For that fee, then that is a fair enough price to take a risk on him. I think that is, fine. You can do that and not feel too bad. The issue I have with Lookman, though, is that I've said this quite a lot on the podcast before, but I actually think that Premier League teams won't want to sign him. I know sometimes we look at players and we don't really know what they're thinking, and obviously this is just assumptions at the end of the day. But his times in the Prem, I think, have been encouraging. Like, I think especially at Leicester, and I think his Fulham loan was relatively quite good, but I think Leicester on loan, he was good. But he was a good squad player, as a player that can come in when they needed him to. And because he's so, dependent on these positions here, like we're talking about, so dependent on getting the ball here, the problem is, if you flood this area in terms of a defensive, say there's a lot of players in this area and you flood it, he really does sometimes get caught under the ball and struggles to get the ball out of him when there's 3 or 4 players around him. And yes, he has got good movement. He will move across this line and figure out ways to make it work. But it's just a difficult way. I personally don't think Arsenal would sign him because I think they're worried. And I think all of the Premier League teams are worried about his effect under basically physical tackles in the area he wants to get the ball to be good. He's played a lot in the Prem, Lookman. He's got good experience in it. But I think that's actually not helping him in this situation. I think teams will look at it and go, that's a problem. We don't want to look into him for that. But obviously, if a price is there, if you can whittle down the price to 35 mil, then I think we would do it. But I don't think that's going to happen with what Atalanta are doing and saying and what they're like. And apparently maybe, the whole issue about him wanting to leave Atalanta, I know, rumours are that he still wants to leave and the kind of relationship is broken down. But obviously, the whole problem in the first place was that him and Gasperini fell out. And it always kind of felt like Gasperini's been there for years. He'll be gone. But Gasperini's actually gone and gone to Roma. So maybe Lookman, there's a world he stays if the price isn't right. I don't hate Lookman for Arsenal. I just think tactically it doesn't make much sense. And I don't think if it's 45, 50 mil, he is just not he won't do that much for Arsenal. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. I think there's teams that can get a lot out of him. La Liga teams should be all over him. Serie A teams as well. I'm not surprised Inter wanted him. He would be great for Inter in their 5-back system. It would be amazing. So, I think, Lookman's a great player. And I also think for Lookman, he shouldn't come to the Prem. The Prem threw him out multiple times at this rate. They kind of derailed his career in many ways. He kind of made himself his career Ballon d'Or nominee, African Player of the Year in the Serie A. I think for his sake, he shouldn't come to the Prem. I think he should stay abroad. I think he'd enjoy it a lot more personally. So that's kind of where I am with Lookman. Obviously, Rodrygo is definitely the best shout, I think, in terms of that. We will talk about a couple of more players in this left wing position, of course. So Leao's another one. We spoke about Leao multiple times. I like Leao. In fact, I think he's amazing. I've always liked Leao. I've always had question marks about obviously the pressing, the problems. I've always had an issue with that. But I don't want to go on about it too much because I feel like, one, everyone does, and two, I don't think it's that big of a deal sometimes. We have a Martinelli still in the team, let's say, if this scenario happens. So getting a player in that doesn't defend as well, but is way better going forward, is fine. In games where you need that more defensive player, bring in Martinelli. And in games you don't, you play Leao. It's kind of my perspective of where I always saw this Gyökeres deal. I was always more positive than a lot of people on YouTube about Gyökeres, and it's because I always felt like he is so different. I know people say similar to Havertz. I think there is ways he is. But in my opinion, he's a proper number 9, and Havertz is not a number 9 at all. And I think in many ways, Arsenal need that difference in player. That's why Eze made a lot of sense, because he is different to the attacking midfielders we have. Although the money, I think, is quite expensive. Now, Like, Leao will be better suited to the Premier, right, CJ? Like, he is a big guy. Physically, that's the thing we talk about in the Premier League. Who's going to be able to keep up physically in the Prem? He will. He will easily be able to keep up in the Prem. You think about the counter-attacking, like, style that we're trying to do. You know, all them counter-attacks where we messed up against United. I mean, how many was it? Like, 12, 13? Amazing. Leao won't struggle in them positions. That might be a better moment to just get Odegaard, get the ball straight to Leao first time. Leao takes people on. And Leao, in that way, one-on-one, is unbelievable. And I think against low blocks, I made a video kind of catered around him against low blocks. I think is our biggest problem. I think Leao will be fine. All we need him to do is take his man one-on-one and cross the ball in. Leao's good. Leao's a good player, and he works with his team well. It doesn't look like Leao's going to leave. Like this is the problem. Like, as a player, I love him. The fee, I love him. Wages might be a little bit, but I think it's whatever. I think in terms of the negatives of, like, he won't leave. I don't think he's going to leave this summer. Fabrizio's made that clear. Things can always change overnight. Like, we could come in with a great offer. I'm not saying it can't, but it just seems unlikely. I do think he'd want to come to Arsenal, but I don't see it happening right now, unfortunately. He did play at striker at Lille as well. That's very true. Like, that's what I mean. Like, in terms of, like, you want a striker that pushes the line and runs off the back. Leao can do that. Leao's a great player at running in behind. You know, we talk about that. So I just think, like, I think Leao would work, but I don't think he'll come to Arsenal. I don't think Arteta wants him. Like, we can talk about Arteta and his want for certain players within the squad, but it is quite clear he prefers, you know, players that maybe he thinks mentally are there or is going to work hard. And it's not just about the working hard off the ball. Leao has had lots of problems in terms of his, like, the reported of what he's done behind the scenes and just stuff like that. And, like, I don't care personally. If you're good enough, you're good enough. Play him, bring him in. But I think Arteta will care. And I just think, like, to get the whole board to sanction a sign-in is just so unlikely at this rate. Like, with the play, every player has to, like, it's so hard for our team to even agree on a sign, it seems like. And Leao's, like, a player that I just see so many people within our recruitment team just having problems with. It's just a problem. I mean, he also doesn't want Gyökeres. I think that's completely blown out of proportion. Like, I still think that is. Like, you know, you've seen, I know he's now, like, he's not going to come out and say, I didn't want him, but it seems quite clear that, yes, Šeško is his number one choice as a player, but he was never against Gyökeres. Like, it's the same with, like, if we brought Lookman in for Arsenal, I'm sure that no Arsenal, like, board recruitment were thinking we're going to bring Lookman in at the start of the summer, but, you know, situations change, and they probably felt like, well, actually, you know, he is still a good player and we can get good out of him. So, like, I think there's always good ways to get out of, like, things. And I think with Leao, that could happen if pushed to shove. Like, if we have to, I think we would. But you know what Arsenal are like. Like, he's such a risky player and we are risk adverse. I think we'd go in for, like, other players instead of him, which, do I agree with? No, I think Leao should be our number one option, personally. But it is what it is. So, what other left wingers have we got? I think the only other real one we can really speak about is, I mean, you're going to see him come across the screen, Semenyo. And that is because this whole Semenyo thing, like, we talk about Semenyo, we talk about how long... By the way, for people asking, we're not sure how long Havertz is injured for, but, like, with how David Ornstein's wording things and what people have said, maybe it's looking a couple of months, because I don't think... Maybe even more. It might be an ACL. It might be some other issue. Obviously, we don't know. I don't want to speculate in that sense. But, you know, it doesn't sound good. Let's say that. And that's why we're talking about replacements. Because it seems like the club re-signed Trossard to sign some sort of... It seems like we're still trying to buy an attacker. But Trossard re-signed to help us because Havertz is out for a long time. Which is a bit annoying. Yeah, I don't feel any risk as well, gaming, about Leao. Like, I do think there's a risk of, in terms of, like, these big games, can he press? Like, but just don't play him. Like, I don't think Leao would be that upset about being a impact player in certain games. He can start against, like, Leeds and be fine. And then against, like, Liverpool, he could start. If it's not working, bring him off. But in other instances, if you want to start Martinelli, let's say, against a Liverpool, if Leao came on at, like, 60 minutes in, but he'd just crush everyone. Like, he would just crush everyone. And if not, just play him up front. He could be that player that doesn't need to... Well, he doesn't need to press, but, like, he can be the player that kind of just sits on the last line. It's a problem, though. Like, if Arsenal were in a low block situation, defending for our lives, I would rather Leao on the pitch than us dominating, if it makes sense. But it's just an interesting situation. Now, with Semenyo, like, I do want to talk about him because, like, Semenyo's incredible, like, at counter-attacking. He's a direct player. He's so much of what we don't have. Now, in my opinion, Semenyo is kind of similar. He is like a baby Leao. He is a little bit like a baby Leao. I think they're like the same age, actually. He might be a year younger. But he reminds me a little bit like when we signed Madueke, I kind of felt like this signing was never going to happen because in terms of directness, in terms of physical, in terms of dribbling, they are very similar. Semenyo's more of a power runner. He's quicker. He's more like better acceleration. But I do think in terms of like we talk about Madueke, I think Madueke's impact within this team as a Semenyo would be the same way. Now, Semenyo is definitely better on both wings. I mean, we are trying to use Madueke in both wings, it seems like. So that's obviously a big debate. But Semenyo, I do think for the value that he is just so expensive. I think Semenyo is really good, and I think, yet again, that Liverpool game has reaffirmed that opinion. I think that the 70 to 80 mil for him is mental. Like, we're talking about signing the baby Leao for more money than what Leao would cost. Like, in my opinion, that is kind of ludicrous. I think if you can get him for cheaper, of course, but I just don't think that's possible with how many players Bournemouth have sold and what they're at right now. He's their main guy. They're not going to just be like, yeah, fine, later on in the window. It's going to be harder to get them deals done. And obviously, like, no Arsenal fan really thought, like, Semenyo was possible after he re-signed a contract. Now, I don't really care about, like, the re-signing too much. Like, well, I do, because I do think it's unlikely he comes to us this summer. But David Ornstein actually alluded to this on The Athletic and on a podcast. I keep mentioning it, I keep going on about it. But he basically said that Semenyo might have signed a new deal this year to kind of guarantee he leaves for a cheaper fee next year. Or, like, not a cheaper fee, but a guaranteed fee. So, like, 60, 70 mil that they've got in place. And he said that you see this a lot. Šeško did it. I mean, there's other players I'm sure have done it. Apparently, that's why Isak kind of was upset because he wanted a contract last year to kind of get a guarantee, and they didn't do it, and then kind of isolated him out. So apparently, that happens quite a lot within football, and you know, Semenyo might be the next great example of that. So I think Semenyo would be a great player. Late in the market, I can't see it happening. I think the fact he can back up in both positions is really good. I think Semenyo could start. I think he is better than Martinelli. I think he's better on the counter-attack. And if we are going to play this more direct counter-attacking style, then I think it makes a lot of sense. But, I mean, look, like, no one even thought this was possible until that Twitter account posted about him potentially coming to Arsenal. And if like it like materializes a little bit more, him and Lookman, we'll go a full deep dive video. You know how it is. This is just brief talking. But I got some tweets about it being like, do you think this is reliable? And I like that Twitter post, I will say, like that Twitter account, I know David Ornstein co-signed it on some of the stuff that they've said, but it looks like most of the stuff he said about Liverpool and even in a sense United have been correct. Everything he said about Arsenal, I don't agree with the sensationalization of it all. I don't agree with like some of the things he said. Like I don't think are true personally. Like you know when Šeško came in, he's talking about how Šeško. He apparently they said to Šeško that Arsenal's defense is like slow in transition. Like the one thing we're good at. Like what? Like so I just don't like some of these things. I just don't like believe. I don't believe his Arsenal links. Maybe Arsenal looked at Semenyo knowing that Havertz was injured and maybe asked like, oh, what's the availability of him? And then they probably went, no, it's unlikely. And then we went, okay, and then moved on. Maybe that's what happened, but you know, I don't think we're gonna get him at all. Yeah, Malik for so the last one. So that's like Semenyo, Leao. Who else we gone through? Lookman, Rodrygo. And I think the last one we should go for wingers, and then we're going for strikers. Sorry if you can hear my typing. Sorry about that. Is Fofana, because I absolutely completely forgot about Malik Fofana until you said that in the chat. So thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. I need to do a video about Fofana. Like, this is a guy. I'm waiting to see what happens. I always think there's some murmurs of him going. He's even going to go to Arsenal. Well, like, he might not, but there's murmurs about him going to Arsenal. There's murmurs about him going to Liverpool. There is something happening with Fofana where he's a player that is like that backup option for a lot of teams. And I think eventually he'll end up moving in to a team. Like maybe he stays at Lyon. Maybe he wants to do that. You know, who knows? But it's interesting because apparently they want £50 million from him, which I do think is expensive. But he is super young and like is that the going rate for wingers at the moment? Yeah. I think genuinely, like, we signed Madueke, Alanga. It's fine. Like, I'm not gonna hate on that personally. So Malik Fofana, like, is a super fun player. This is the sort of thing though, when I talk about to people, like, not the grass isn't always greener. I think Malik Fofana is better maybe than Martinelli right now. Like, as maybe an overall, as a dribbler, he's 100% better. Like, and that is kind of what we need. So, like, who cares? Like, about everything else, fine. But I do think there is some ways that it doesn't always, like, guarantee that he is better in the Prem. Physicality, is he going to get the space that he wants? Is he going to be able to be that impactful? Now, Fofana's a great player. Like, I really like him. I've watched him like 6 or 7 times. I haven't watched him as much as some of these other wingers we're talking about. I will say, I will have to do a lot more clips because I just haven't really he wasn't really on my radar for someone that Arsenal would sign. And I thought he'd go for quite cheap money considering the whole Leon situation, but that doesn't seem the case anymore because they obviously got more money now. So, it's an interesting one. In a sense, I think he's good, but he is a project winger. And do Arsenal really want to sign a project winger when Havertz is now injured? We've needed a world-class left winger. I don't know. In terms of right now, if you're saying there's no one on the market, you can't get a Leao, Rodrygo's unavailable, Barcola's unavailable, I would probably get Fofana over some other options. I'd get Fofana over a Lookman personally. I think there's a lot more to like there. The age is better. I just think the dribbling's better. I think he's better out wide as well, which is another thing which we need a lot. So I think in terms of that, I kind of like it a little bit. But yeah, we'll talk about Fofana more, but I will say just keep your eyes open for him a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal acted on someone like Fofana, given like how we are in the market and who we look at and what we do. Like, he is a sort of Arsenal type of player, Ligue 1, like, young player, relative market opportunity. I know 50 mil is expensive, but if you can get that down to 40, 45, that is a relative market opportunity, given how good he is. So it'd be interesting to see. And I think I do talk about physicality, but in Ligue 1, that is probably the biggest physical league compared to the Prem. So if you're that's why you see so many championship teams sign Ligue 1 players. It's unbelievable because that is like the biggest like transition you can have. So I wouldn't be worried about that too much. But I don't think we'd be that excited about a Fofana signing. That would be more of a necessity. That would be more like, we couldn't get our targets, we need to get someone. And that's something I'm a big fan of. Like, if you can't get your main targets, get someone. I've always said this. I think we've missed out too many years of not buying players. Look at the injury record we've had. We just need to get someone. But yeah. So, like, we will talk about it. Like, Fofana is more of a wingy type. Semenyo is much more of a player that can play in the centre. I know some of you have said it in here, but Lookman, as we are talking about, he is a little bit of a secondary striker, sort of interior left winger player like here. He could definitely play up front, maybe, in the Prem. I worry a little bit about his pace about that sense and, like, the strength of him. But we're talking about strikers. Like, Leao could play striker if he had to. If Leao had to play striker, I mean, he used to play striker. I think he'd be great as striker. I think you missed some of his great work out wide in terms of dribbling and going past players. But I still think he works. I think, who was the other person I was going to say that we were talking about in here? Yeah, Rodrygo, yes. Thank you. Dead Zeppelin, you said this, and that reminded me, actually. There was always a way, maybe not your quiz here, but, like, where's Martinelli? There's always a way that Martinelli could easily play up front. I mean, you're right as well. Like, if you're I would prefer this, to be honest. Like, that would work great. There's always a way this works. There's always a way that Rodrygo comes in as an inverted player. Like, I've always said that I think if Rodrygo is to sign, he should be used more. Where's Gyökeres? Like this, in a sense. I'd rather do a 4-4-2-2, 4-2-4, if you know what I mean. Obviously, Rice wouldn't be out here. You would put, I don't know, anyone else. But let's just put Martinelli. Like, I would prefer this because I think in this sense that you get the best out of Rodrygo. You don't really want Martinelli as that wide player. That is the problem. Like, in these situations, we always come back to it. But I'd rather a Trossard there, to be honest. Like, I think he is better out there than someone like him. Or, well, actually, the most sense is that, isn't it? That makes the most sense. That is our probably, like, if we were to sign Rodrygo, if we were to sign Rodrygo, that's probably our best team. Like I will say that. That is the team I would like to see the most if we signed Rodrygo in the team. Like a 4-4, a 4-2-4, maybe a 4-4-2, move the wingers back if you needed to, in certain aspects of the game. Obviously, on the ball, you can always change it. You can have Calafiori just go off and, do his crazy stuff again and have like you'd probably have a 5, wouldn't you? So you would have a 3-2-5 like this. But you can also have ways that Calafiori's a bit deeper. These 4 are there. There's ways that this could work. Is this the best in terms of like creative work here? No, you would probably have to have Rodrygo drop in for it to work a little bit more. I wouldn't really want Gyökeres dropping in that much, like with Sin. I think you want him running in. And I think in that sense it works. Maybe instead there's always a way that we did do a 4-4-2 before with Trossard and Havertz. This could just be like a little bit different version of it that could be better. The Ligue 1 translation has been good, yeah. Ligue 1, I would say, is probably one of the best leagues for translation, especially just because it's a very physical league, and there's so much young talent, which is super cheap. Not always, but super cheap. I would look to buy a lot of Ligue 1 players personally. I think that is where I would market the most by some of these teams. But yeah, that's kind of where I think with Rodrygo, like that's where we talk about not being too bad of a problem, as in a striker or a left winger. In that way, yeah, Odegaard not being in the team is a bit like, it is bad because I think in terms of pressing, you talk about it, it would make more sense to play an Odegaard like this. This makes more sense. But I think in games that I'm talking like Fulham games, like not Fulham, I'm talking like Leeds, like Brentford. These teams at home, this is what I would like to see. In teams that are maybe a little bit more difficult, like we play, maybe an Odegaard would make more sense. Maybe an Odegaard's just better for the transition. And if you're going to do that, you might as well just play Odegaard instead of one of those DMs. Maybe you take Zuba out and give him a rest for some games and you play Gyökeres. Because we do need to have starting 11s without people like Zubimendi in or Rice in, because they're not always going to be fit. They're not always going to be there. Sometimes these solutions have to be there. We need to rest and rotate players in order for that to happen. So that's where I kind of am at with the winger options. Like, let me know. I know most of you are going to want Rodrygo. I think as well he is the most likely option. I still think Leao would be a great option for the club. I'm not going to ever say that I don't think Leao would be brilliant. Do I think it's likely? No. So, what's the point of talking about it? So, yeah, in that sense, I completely agree. Like, Rodrygo or Leao feeds us. We can use them in funny ways. They can be used as these interior players to make them work. In many ways, if you wanted to sign a Lookman, you could easily play him in that system that we just said. Wouldn't be as good at all, but he's a player that doesn't have to start every game. He's not going to be that much of an improvement on some of the things that we do in terms of how we play. But, there is options out there. Fofana as well, is an option. I don't think Semenyo is likely. Now, obviously, yeah, Marino is still here. So, if we are to sign a striker, let's say I do want to say that someone said in the chat, Lookman is a mini Rodrygo. That is kind of a good comparison, actually. Lookman, mini Rodrygo, Semenyo, mini Leao. You see the similarities there. Yeah, Leao and Rodrygo would be perfect in Champions League moments as well, which is another reason to sign them. You talk about moment players. We've seen that. I actually think Semenyo can be a moments player, but we haven't seen it that much, at the highest level. So, it's just assumptions, and also probably not going to happen. On the left wing, it is a waste of Saka's potential. I will say, YB, I wouldn't do that every game. I just think for now, while Thingy's injured or Havertz is injured or the certain situations are happening, buy someone that can maybe cover in other areas. But I think if you play Saka and Madueke in games, I don't mind them rotating all the time. I don't mind them playing on the left for a bit and then the right. I think our wingers should do that anyway. And I actually think these two are the most capable of doing that. That's why I wouldn't mind a versatile winger as well. But, we signed Madueke. So, right, let's talk about strikers. We've gone through left wingers. I think left wingers is the most likely, but, we never know. There could be strikers as well. Who in the chat do you guys think? We'll go through some strikers. Let me name some strikers and we'll talk about them. I've got one on there, which is kind of funny. So I see Muniz. I will put him on, sorry. We can talk about him, certainly. We could talk about this. Let's get this. Because I think the strikers, because obviously, like I said, like I've scouted loads of strikers over the last couple of months, and I've kind of like ran out of ideas in so many ways. Like we are kind of looking at these like Premier League striker options now, really, which aren't going to be cheap, but you know. Saka as a second striker could be an option, 100%. So this is the thing with Saka. Like I've always been of the motion that Saka should not be moved around because he is our best player and should be platformed. But in times of injury concerns and in times of like the fact we've brought other players in, I don't mind playing Saka in attacking midfield, especially centrally. I think it'd be great. I actually don't think that would be any weakness to him. I don't mind playing him on the left. I don't mind playing him as a centre forward if you have to. Yep, I've got Ollie on here. We'll talk about Ollie. I mean, we might as well cheekily talk about him. I know you guys are going to see the names quickly go across us before we talk about him. I've got about 50 players on the right, bear in mind. It's just so many players. Oh, that's a good option. So I was doing some scouting for for Newcastle, but I was doing some work the other day about new strikers Newcastle could sign. So there is some suggestions I have in terms of that. I'm trying to think who was the other one that we had. We had him with one more. I can't remember who it was. Kodamo's a good shout. That's a good shout. So I've got Saka and Gyökeres as striker, maybe Max on the right. I mean, there's everything injury like is a negative to the club, but I will say as a positive, Max Downward is certainly closer to being in this team. Like he just is. Like you think about Madueke or even Saka playing on that left, you think who's going to come in? Ethan's still a great option, obviously, to play on the right, but it seems like he is more of that attacking midfield backup, which is fine. And then you can bring in someone like Downward on the right. I think Downward will play. Most of the striker options I have are strikers in the Prem, but I think that's because they are the easiest options to go for. Like, realistically, like you want a panic striker, let's just go to all the leagues, go to the title league and just ransack them. Now, the problem is, it's like I did a tweet a couple of days ago, where I spoke about the strikers signed in the Prem, and at the time I said, I think there's 16 or 17 teams in the Premier League have bought a striker either this summer or in January. And I think the only team that had bought one in January was Man City. I just wanted to include them. I think 16 teams have bought a striker this summer, not a starting one guaranteed. Some of them are backups, like Wilson for West Ham, for instance. But like that is a big thing. And I do think there's other teams, like Wolves haven't made like barely any moves. Fulham haven't made any moves as well. Brentford are signing a striker, aren't they? Or they have, or something like that. There's been talks of other clubs. Like Newcastle were one of the teams that haven't signed a striker, and we could all argue, like we all know that they're going to sign a striker eventually. But like they've been trying all summer, so they will get one eventually. So yeah. So right, we'll bring Martinelli back right here. So right, let's go through strikers. Right, the first striker that we're going to talk about is this guy. I know. Oh my God. The outrage that I think would happen if Nicholas Jackson signed for Arsenal, I think would be through the roof. I think people would give up on Andrea Berta in that one moment. I think people already strained with Madueke. Now, I always said Madueke is a great player. I get the money and I get the problem with it. But I think Jackson would would cause a little bit of a fuss, I'd say, in the fan base at least. Now, where do I start with Nicholas Jackson? Where do I even start with Nicholas Jackson? I mean, it's just a weird player, isn't it? Like, the thing is with Jackson, Chelsea want, like, some insane money for him. Like, they want 100 mil at the start, and that might go down to 60. I think in the going market, like, he is probably a better striker than some of the players that have gone for, like, he's probably like a 35, 40 mil striker, I would say, currently on the market. But considering how much they signed him for 30 mil, they're not going to want to sell him for less. I kind of get their stance. But considering there's so many other strikers on the market, he is not going to go for 60 mil, in my opinion. Like, unless Newcastle get really desperate, which they might do, I think it's quite likely that they would do as well. I don't really see that being like unless Newcastle get priced out of a Strand Larsen or a Muniz or like any of the other Premier League strikers they're looking at. I think that like Jackson for 60 mil to them is the only team I can see him paying that money because they're desperate. I don't see any other team, even if we are desperate, we'd just be like, nah, we'll go for anyone else, any left winger, like instead. Especially because look, you were talking about Jackson being a sub at Chelsea to being a sub at Arsenal. I know you could say Madueke did that, but I mean, yeah, maybe he did. But yeah, like look, the whole Jackson thing, yeah, 9 years. Well, he's got exactly so long on his contract, so I guess they can ask them fees. Now, in my opinion, I like don't shoot me, but I do like Jackson. Do I want Arsenal to buy Jackson? No, I don't. I don't want Arsenal to buy him. Not only because I just think like yet again I have to. It's not even the fact that I have to explain like he's a good player. Is he what we need? No, he's like. I think some of the things that he does really well, we kind of already have in Gyökeres now. I think if before Gyökeres came in, like in terms of profile, it made sense. I don't think he's that like elite striker at all. He cannot finish, which is most of the problem that we have, I would say. I don't want Jackson in the team because of them, like that reason. I don't like hate him as a player. I think he's actually really underrated. It's one of them players that I think that like, doesn't get enough credit he deserves. If there was a deal where it was like, you get Jackson on loan, like Richard has said, like, by himself, I would still be annoyed, but I wouldn't be, if, let's say we bought a Rodrygo and we were like, oh no, we need to still cover Havertz, let's get Jackson on loan. Wouldn't hate it. I think that's fine. Like, I actually don't mind that at all. I think that's actually really good. But obviously, as like that one forward that we need, he is just not enough. Like, he is not good enough. That's not the way we should go. I also think the fans are kind of right in this sense. I think we're all right in the sense that we don't want him. I agree. I've always been like, I don't really care about signing Chelsea players, but there needs to be a line in the sand. And I don't think just going to Chelsea every time we're like, oh, what do we do? What do we do in this market? Let's go and ask Chelsea what they're doing. No, no. So, like, I mean, like, if things happen, I'll talk about him. Jackson's a really good player at running in behind. He's not last season, the season before last, he was a very good dribbler in terms of like picking the ball up in these deeper areas, holding the ball on and then running and holding it off and running to and passing it off to players, which would be better than what we have right now. And I think in terms of running in behind, he's got that level there. But he really benefits from central progression, which we don't have a lot. Like, I don't think out wide when the ball's out here, Jackson's useful in the box. Like, I just don't think he's very useful in them situations, which, doesn't make much sense for us, I think. And I also think that, yeah, we talk about all the problems outside of football in terms of like what that says about the team, what that says about the recruitment. I think there's too many problems there to even bother with Jackson. Alone, if he's like another option as well as a winger, is a fine for now, because considering our injury record, because he is a good player, but no, not for me. Like, I do think it is funny when Jackson was signed at Chelsea and Højlund signed at United. Højlund was signed with double the money, and Jackson developed so much over the first 18 months. Then he stagnated the last 6 months, and as soon as you stagnate at Chelsea, you're out the door. So, yeah, no, not Chelsea will never loan. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't think they will right now, but they might get desperate. They kind of just throw players out. Like, I think he'll go to Newcastle. I think Newcastle should get him. I actually think he's like the best striker option for Newcastle on the market, which is crazy to say. As well as maybe like a Vista as well, like as another option. I think he'd be good for them. I wouldn't, if they pay anything over like 50 mil, then that's kind of crazy in my eyes. But yeah, whatever. Like I think we don't need to talk about Jackson much because I think we all kind of had the same opinion. Next, we might as well talk about this guy briefly. Like, do I think Watkins is an option right now? Maybe. I mean, Villa have always been quite open to the sell of Ollie Watkins this summer. They've never closed the door. They've always been quite open with United. And United always had, we had the three options of Gyökeres, Šeško, and Watkins. And as soon as we got Gyökeres, United had the options of Šeško and Watkins. And Watkins obviously didn't go. I think Watkins would be good. I I'm not as high on him as like I know a lot of Arsenal YouTubers are. Like Arsenal YouTubers in the summer were like crying that he didn't come, and I just wasn't at that level. Like I didn't feel the same way, if you know what I mean. Oh, okay. Wait, there's stuff going on. Yeah, but I didn't feel the same way because I feel like he's actually decreased. Oh wow. Okay, shall I put it up on the stream then? I guess we'll talk about it then. I mean, I don't necessarily like. Okay, we'll talk about it. Where's So this is I've seen some of you talking about this in the chat. This is what is going on. Supposedly. Now, it is funny because we just had this whole 10-minute conversation before he released this about like how I'm not sure he's reliable and like I don't believe it fully, but I do believe him more in a sense of Liverpool and United. He's been very on point this year. I actually had this guy blocked from about 3 years ago, and I was like, who's everyone tweeting about? And then I went on it and was like, he's blocked. So he must have said some stupid stuff years ago. I get that. I've been in some group chats and people have been saying to me they think he sold his account to some like credible people. So that might be why he might be more credible now. Now, I don't like the sensationalist of everything he says. Like, I think some of the things he says are kind of crazy. Like I believe some of the info he says, but I don't believe in terms of like, oh, Bournemouth are shocked at how they've said this. Like, it's just a weird thing to put in a post. Personally, I think it's a bit weird. But this is what he said. Rodrygo's agents are travelling to London. They say the agent will land in the evening. Good. The agent will meet with Arsenal and Liverpool to see what options can be offered to his client. The agent has requested the meetings, not the club. Like, the thing is, like, there's been lots of stuff about his agency and about what's going on with him. Liverpool, if they don't get Isak, this is the thing. If they don't get Isak, I can just see them going to get Rodrygo, and I don't know if we can do much about that, unfortunately. This is why I want them to kind of get Isak. I know it's kind of crazy to say, but if that means we get Rodrygo and they get Isak, I'll take that. I'll rather than us not getting Rodrygo and them getting him. We will see. We will see what happens. Like, obviously, we spoke about Rodrygo. Go back and watch it if you need to. But, yeah, I don't know. He might not be very reliable, but, you know, we will... We'll go back to this for now. But yeah, that's just some breaking news for you guys. Let's pray Arteta's charisma wins. that is the hope. The loan with obligation, I agree, is probably the only way we're going to get him. And I don't know. I think they'd agree with it if it became to like the end of the market. But if Liverpool are interested, that's a big problem. But yeah, you know, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a bit. With Watkins, like we were saying, like, I'm not that high on Watkins as in terms, I just see such a decrease in his ability over the last year compared to before. I think even in the game against Newcastle, like, I know it's short sample size, but a lot of last season, you look at Watkins' goal scoring stats and assist stats, they're really high, but he misses so many chances. He was so poor in front of goal last year, and I don't think we're going to give him that as good as opportunities as Villa do, because they're way more open. And I also just think that, like, he's not, like, his press, like, he's always seen as his pressing forward. His pressing is much worse now. His pressing has gone completely, like, not good. And I think it's sometimes down to how Unai Emery plays and uses him. And I think that's why Rashford played a lot last year. But also, he's nearly 30. I think he's 30 in a few months. He's like 50 to 60 million. Like, they want 50 mil. I'm sorry, I'm not paying 50 mil for Watkins. And I don't even think we should have paid 50 mil in January. Shoot me, but I don't think that should have been the case. And I know some people like creators disagree with that. I wasn't that upset about not getting Watkins. I was upset about the failure of a signing, but not Watkins personally. I don't think he's like that special. I know like Reece just said, like, I know that he's got a lot right, Indy, like this season, but he's not got anything like substantially right with Arsenal that we know. So, like, we can't, like, yes, he's got things right with some clubs, but maybe not us. We don't know. I'm not saying he's wrong. He might be. Like, I have heard that he did sell his account so to maybe some reliable journalists, like, reportedly. Like, I've heard that. So maybe that's true, but that's all still assumptions that we don't know. Like, maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like, I'm not ruling it out. I'm sure that the agent probably would have meetings. I'm more likely inclined to believe him and stuff like this than, like, things like... Because he put a tweet out like United are going to bid for Baleba, and it's like and then they didn't because they found out that they couldn't make a deal happen. It's like, that's not how transfers work. You don't just like randomly go in with a bid. Like, that's just not how it works. You do a bid or you don't. You don't like tell people you're going to and then do it. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but we'll see. We'll see. Like, I think what it is there's probably truth delved into all of the other stuff that he says, and I think maybe that is the truth. Maybe that is the truth. We'll take that. What other strikers have we got? I've got on here. Which one's probably the next best option? Well, we've got Isak on here. Yeah. I mean, you're so right. You might be like, he's 29. I heard asked for, like, I heard 60 mil they asked for, like, genuinely 60 million pounds from United, and I was like, yeah, okay, I can see why they went for Šeško then. That is crazy. Like, even 40 mil, given like his performances over the last 6 months, I think is kind of crazy, but I can understand it. So that's interesting. Igor Jesus has gone to Forest. Wish like he joined them because obviously Edu Gaspar has made that happen. So that's not available, unfortunately. But we are looking in the Brazilian market in terms of that defender, aren't we? I didn't know who that defender was like a lot. I only know him because when I watched Vitor Reis, when I did loads of research on him just for him to go to City, I watched him alongside him. And then when he came up, I was like, oh yeah, I know this guy. And he's really big. So if that actually materializes or whatever with Kibby or leaving, I like to do a video about it. But I need to watch a little bit more of him, I would say personally. Estevo. Yeah. So Isak's on here, like the Isak situation. I made a video on my second channel. Yep, I've got loads of channels, but obviously that channel's not really for Arsenal. I'm kind of making my main channel, this one, about Arsenal, and that's going to be about other stuff. So I kind of like spoke about it in terms of like for Liverpool and like what their opinion about it was. I'm actually more on Isak's side than some people are. I completely understand. I don't think Isak's in the right, bear in mind. Like, I think the way that the things have happened is purely on his fault as well. I think both club and player have acted in ways I wouldn't agree with. I'm more inclined to favour the player. That's just who I am personally than the club. Just as a person, I just don't like favouring clubs because I feel like they can get away with what they want. So this Isak situation's interesting. But I said on Twitter yesterday, and I want to get your opinions on this. Like, it's not necessarily Arsenal based, but it might be. Like let's say we have the money there, which we probably do. Like, there's never in a world where if we did some few sales that we couldn't get Isak. But the problem is like, Newcastle don't want to sell Isak. That statement they made yesterday was damning, I felt like. So, do Arsenal just... No, not Arsenal. Is there a way that relationship between Isak and Newcastle can be amended? Like, there has to be a way, because his statement was pretty damning. Their statement was pretty damning. I feel like there has to be... But they said that they want him to play for him. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, I don't know. It just seems so tough, like, figure out where he is going to be able to come back in the team in terms of that, right? Like, maybe eventually bygones be bygones and they sort it out. But I don't know. It's a weird situation. I find the whole Isak situation so weird, personally. Like, I really don't get it. What other strikers we got on here? So I saw some of you saying Koda Mawani. No, Koda Mawani, like, I like him. Well, I actually like him a lot more than I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of analysts I speak to don't like him that much. Is what it is. He's a player that doesn't really do a lot sometimes, but he is a good facilitator. He is more of the Havertz mold than the striker mold. So if we were going to sign a striker, like, he is more of that, like, facilitator. And I don't think Havertz is going to be out for too long, and he's like a weaker version of him, so I don't really get it. Also, apparently, he only wants to go to Juve, who he's been trying to go for months. I don't know if that's happened yet. Might have happened. I think there's a few problems with him. I don't think the price is worth it. I also don't think he'd be that great in the Prem. And when Tottenham and United were linked to him, I didn't think he'd be that good for them either. But yeah, maybe that's just a bias thing. But I don't know. I'm not that, like, high on him. So, like, it depends what we want from a striker, right? Sorloth, if you want a big striker, could be an option. He scores goals, but he wasn't good in the Prem last time. He's a bit inconsistent. Obviously, Newcastle just got a bid rejected for Visser, about 35 mil, I think, for David Ornstein was reporting. like when you're talking about 50 mil for these players, I don't want to buy someone that's like 28 who is, I mean, he's a small guy, so he's not an Arteta guy instantly. That's it. I love his running. I love his work in the box. He's so efficient as a box player. I think Lookman is efficient as a box player, so I'd rather just get a Lookman in. I know different positions and stuff, but I'd rather, like, if you're saying to me, oh, Lookman and Visser are the same price, who would you rather have? I'd rather have Lookman. I'd just rather figure that stuff out with Lookman than Visser. If you know what I mean. For us, I like Visser for Newcastle. I think he'd be a great player for them. Don't want any disrespect there. Mateta is another option. Like, Mateta is one of them players that would be amazing. Him at elite clubs, like, I do think one of the ways he is so effective is his interchange with the players around him, like Sarr, like Muniz, like or Muniz, the fullback, and Eze. And I think with Eze leaving, we might see a decrease in that. So we don't have that at our club, and that's interesting. But I feel like he'd still be a great player for a lot of big teams. The money that they want is quite a lot, though. So, you know, I don't know if he'd come in. But then I think he would come in because I think he'd happily be a backup at a main club. Oh, Samu. We've got to talk about Samu. So, I know... Marcus, I did a Football Manager rebuild, like, with Arsenal, and I signed Thuram, and he was really good, like, because that's just, like, the player. Samu's an interesting a player because he's a player that I'm actually really high on. And I think I think that sometimes he gets a little overrated because of his physical capabilities. Like, I don't think he's overrated. Like, I actually think he's underrated, but then I do think Tactico's overrate him loads. Like, he's physically really good. He's a runner. He's great in the air. He's a little bit like a mini Osimhen. Little bit like a mini Osimhen. And I like him. I think he'd be great. I do think when it was funny when people were saying he should come in instead of Gyökeres, in my opinion, that is kind of crazy. We talk about the biggest problems I had with Gyökeres was the translation from his league to this league. I know Samu has played in La Liga. I get that. But Samu operates at a lot lower level than someone like Gyökeres in the same league. Like, I don't know if we should be looking at that. Also, Samu isn't going to be that much cheaper. Like, he's owned 50% by Porto and 50% by Athletic. I think that might have changed and Porto might have just bought him out fully. I know it's complicated. Why do these La Liga teams do this crazy stuff? If you wanted Samu, he'd be great. He is super young. I think he's only like 20, 21. Like, he is super, super young. So if your ideation was like, we're going to like, Havertz is going to be injured. Havertz is still going to be here long term, but he's going to be injured. Jesus is going to be gone. This is going to be our project striker as well as being a good player that can come in. That work makes sense. Yeah, Club World Cup, I don't think Sammy was great. I do think there's a level that he isn't the best. But if we're talking about like backup striker options, I think he's one of the best on the market. But do we want that right now? In my opinion, if Havertz, like, the Havertz situation is different because I think Havertz should maybe leave next season or the season after or whatever. I think there's a contingency plan for Havertz in the next couple of years where maybe he leaves Arsenal. I think if that situation happens, then you would want a proper, like, project-y striker to come in and help. I think Samu locks us out of these markets completely. So it depends where you want to go. I think for now, Arsenal will probably just try and sign like a 25-year-old, 27-year-old who can come in and be a facilitator and backup, a little bit like a Trossard in many ways. I know Trossard's staying. And then maybe get a project player in the future if Havertz is to leave. I think that kind of makes a little bit more sense. But yeah. Yeah, loan before the permanent deals might be where we go. Yeah, I mean, that's another one. So I've got, like, who else have I got? I've got Muniz because some of you said that. It doesn't look like Fulham want to sell him, though. They got a 35 mil offer from Atalanta and they said no and they want to keep him. So that makes it unlikely. He's also a backup player for Fulham, so I don't know, like, you know, I think he's all right. I think he's a good, like, squad player for a mid-table Prem side at the moment, but I don't know if I would, you know, he's good enough for us, to be honest. There's actually a lot of options you talk about because someone tweeted me this and I actually completely forgot about him. But you guys will see in a sec. Obviously, this guy, this is Vlahovic. Now, we know Arteta is a massive fan of Vlahovic. He has always been. He wanted him years ago. And fundamentally, he's not a great striker. Like, he doesn't do a lot. He's good in the air. Like, he is actually really good in the air. And that's one of the reasons why I said if we were going to panic in January, get him in because he's good in the air at least. He can just sit in the box and, like, that's fine. It's funny because Juve tried to get rid of him. He's on big wages and no club have bitten at all. He's still there. They've been trying to get rid of him this entire time. And I'm pretty sure he played in the Coppa Italia the other week. Was it the Coppa Italia? He played in the first professional competitive game of Juventus season. I think he might have got an assist in it as well. But he did play in it. And it made me laugh. He came off the bench and he scored, I think, as well, actually. And I was just like, they've been trying to get rid of this guy for years. And now he's actually just still playing for them. So, if you wanted to panic and you wanted to get someone in like him on a loan, we're talking about loans here. He's the player that they would probably allow to go on a loan. Arteta loves him. Is he great? No. Would people be really excited about that? No. Is that an okay signing in terms of like figuring out the injuries? Maybe. I just feel like how I see this right now is that Arsenal need to take this opportunity and stop signing like these kind of stopgap players. I think, I agree with you, Zeppelin. I think we need to sign a winger, right? We needed to sign a winger anyway, and I don't think Havertz getting injured stops that. I think, in my eyes, you just move Trossard or Martinelli to a striker position and then get a left winger in. I think, like, we talk about some of the strikers at Grassi's a great option, but he's like 30, going to cost way too much money, or he's like 29 or something, 28. I must have right. Actually, he might be like younger than that, isn't he? He's like 27, isn't he? But like, still, he's going to cost like no, he's 29. I was right first time. He's going to cost a lot of money. Like, I don't think Arsenal should go out and buy a 30-year-old striker. I think the problem is that we have is Trossard's now staying. We have to accept that Trossard's going to stay. It looks like he is 30. He is that like old man in our attack for experience and can come in and play in multiple positions. I don't mind Trossard being in that role. We know what we're going to get from Trossard. He's not going to get worse as his years go on because he's not divided by pace or physicality, like at all. So I think that's fine. So I think in terms of when I look at this team, we need a left winger. Now, let's get all the left wingers that we'll put them all on the pitch. I mean, Semenyo is probably not going to happen, bear in mind. I'm missing Rodrygo. Is that all the ones we spoke about? I think that's all of the ones we spoke about. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree, Aaron. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think this should stop Arsenal from buying a left winger. And I don't think us re-signing Trossard does now with this in mind. Because there has been reports where... I'll get it up. Where's this? There has been reports that Trossard has been playing up front in the absence of Kai Havertz in the training today. I know it's early days, but in the open training that we did. So in my eyes, that might just be a solution for now because we don't have many strikers. But you would think if that was the ideation, they would have just played Marino as a backup. You would think Marino would just be the backup for Gyökeres, and they wouldn't worry. They would just wait while trying to sign someone. So it makes me think that Trossard is being re-signed because they think he's just a good squad player that can play in multiple positions and can cover for when we need. And I don't necessarily agree with giving him a new contract with no time added with money. Like, I still think that's just a nice Arsenal thing to do instead of actually being ruthless and fair. Like, I don't still agree with the decision, but I can understand it in the sense that if he is going to be our backup striker for now, and they will have to play a lot, like pressing-wise, Gyökeres is not always going to be that guy. I think there's obviously ways that I don't think it's just going to be like Gyökeres, Trossard, Marino. I think there's going to be ways Molinari, Saka plays there. We've got Dalman, we've got Madueke now. Like, these players can cover in these right-wing positions, attacking midfield positions if needed. So I personally would probably rather put Saka up front as my backup. But I think you want Saka in the team on the right, realistically, or the left, anywhere. So if that is the solution that we need, then I would assume that Arsenal are probably looking at a left winger. We were looking at a left winger anyway, and this just kind of makes us even more need a left winger. So, I don't know. That's kind of how I see things right now. That's kind of how it is, I think. It might not be the way that we think about things at all, which would be a concern, I'd say. But I think in order for the fans to... It's not even about the fans, but I think in order for us to understand, in order for people to get behind this, this makes the most sense. Like, I think buying a left winger, don't deviate from the plan that we had. If anything, this makes the necessity to get Rodrygo arguably even more than it was before. Maybe before you were like, oh, where's he going to fit in the squad? All this. But now it's like, okay, we can kind of figure out a little bit more. You know, Havertz is out for 3 months. Jesus is out for 3 months. We need that star player to come in because Martinelli and Trossard are going to play a lot with these injuries, and they're not good enough, like, to play all the time. So we need more players. So I think that's like, it's funny because yesterday I was all doom and gloom. I thought our summer was over in terms of silence, and I was upset. Now Havertz, like, woke up, Havertz injured, like, not great. Like, it's still doom and gloom. But I do think this makes it makes more sense why Trossard was kind of assured he's going to stay and given more trust. And I also think, like, if we go on to sign no one, this is just dreadful, like, absolutely dreadful. I can't accept that at all. But if we take this opportunity and go, okay, we have to buy a winger. We were going to buy one anyway, but now even more, then I'm absolutely fine with that. And maybe, we don't know when Havertz was injured. It seemed like we called the Eze move before this happened. Like, we called it because of the Waneri deal. But maybe this just makes it even confirmed that, like, we weren't going to get Eze because, you know, we've got to focus on making sure our left winger is fit and our strikers are fit. So I think that's fair enough. Like, let's just hope, like, we don't get any severe injuries. It's like knocks are fine. Like, players being out, like, if Ben White is out for like this game, like the next game, it's fine. Like, we have so many players on the squad right now that we can afford some players to kind of miss out for some games if they're like a precaution. But getting a 3-month injury is just like, it's just rough, isn't it? It's just rough. Like, it's not great. I agree with playing Martinelli centrally as well, but I think he'll do Trossard more. But I think I agree. I prefer Martinelli there as well. Oh, yeah, that is a good player, actually. Like, the last player that I guess we'll talk about before we end, and then we'll go in for, like, some of your opinions and questions, and we'll go through that. Oh, I've just got this. It's not got a capital letter. I'm putting him back. I'm making him again. Oh, no. Is Rodgers, because where do I need to go for this? Where's now? Okay, right. We've got to take everything with a pinch of salt. Now, this report came out earlier. I know it's Eduardo's like sponsor, and he just retweets everything and it has to reply to it. And I get, like, it's not necessarily like the most reliable source in the world. Especially from Sun as well. Actually, I didn't even see that before. So, you know, already, if any of you are from the UK, you understand that this is not a reliable source. When I did a journalism degree, the entire time everyone just took the mick out of the Sun. We had someone who worked with the Sun come in to, like, speak to us, and everyone didn't want to speak to him because they just don't, like, it's got such a bad rap in terms of, like, journalism in this country, and they deserve it as well because they are not good. But they did say that maybe that Arsenal will look. The thing is, it's like, we don't know how much money Arsenal have. We haven't sold anything. Let's say we get for 30. Like, even if we sell Kivior on a loan with an obligation to buy for about 35 mil, and they loan him now and they have to buy him next year, a lot of teams take that money as in, oh, we've got 35 mil saved, so we can buy that money. Like, it still kind of works like that in many ways. So if we get, like, let's say, this is wishful thinking, but let's say we get like 50 mil from the players that we sell. I know that's crazy, that's wishful, but that is wishful. We don't actually know how much money Arsenal have. There's been reports that we have the 60 mil for Eze. Like, we did have it. We just decided not to go in that direction because probably we would have signed like a Rodrygo or something like that. How much money do Arsenal actually have to spend? If we do have 80 mil, if we have like world record RFE, like, still left available other than Rice, but like our second biggest transfer ever, Price, then it opens up loads of opportunities. Now that opens up a lot Rodgers, that opens up a Rodrygo a lot more. We just don't know how much we're willing to pay. I believe Arsenal will have a bit. Like, I don't think that I don't think the reason we didn't sign Eze, I think the price was a little bit, but I don't think that was the breaking point. I think it's just because we need to sell players, and that's not happening. And we think the left wing's more important. We've got too big of a squad. But given the fact we're getting injuries and the concerns already there, probably in the mind of the board, I think that, you know, if they're willing to spend money, these options could be available. We've wanted Rodgers for a while. I don't think Aston Villa will sell Rodgers. I'm not that high on I'm high on Rodgers. I just wonder, like, does he fit into our system as well as he fits into Villa's? And I don't think so. can he adapt? Of course, he's young. Like, he just won PFA Young Player of the Year, I'm pretty sure. Rodgers is fun, but he is more of that Eze, like, wing fielder type of player. And if you just said no to Eze, which I felt like was the perfect fit in that sense of that player, I don't understand a Rodgers. He is more of a runner, dribbler at pace. Fair enough. He's not someone that is great against low blocks. And I know Eze isn't either, don't get me. But I think Eze had a little bit better of transition. Rodgers is a lot younger. I think he's 4 or 5 years younger. So maybe I'm not giving him the benefit of that where I should. I don't know if UAE would want to do business with us, quite frankly. I don't know if they'll make it cheap. 80 mil for Rodgers seems like a lot, but he is PFA Young Player of the Year. So maybe that's fair in market value. Like, I don't think that's that much. But would you guys rather, I feel like we all know the answer here, but would you rather Rodgers or Rodrygo? Like, let's say they're both 77 mil. We'll say that's the sticking price. Rodgers would be on less wages. We have to consider that. But, like, given the players that they are, 77 mil for Rodrygo or 80 mil for Rodgers, or 77 for Rodgers, what are we saying? Like, because I'm probably leaning to more. A Leao might be cheaper than this. And, like, if Leao is cheaper than this, then I think we've got to consider it. Yeah, we do have like UEFA FFP problems, but you can get around that. We just need to like sort some stuff out with the squad, I think. I don't think it's like, I mean, listen, like low key UEFA don't really have a backbone, nor do the Prem in many ways, but they do a little bit more than UEFA. So I think you can get around it. I think we can. I think that we can make signings. Like, I think it's just about selling players personally. Yeah, Rodgers is good in that sense. I mean, Semenyo plays on both sides. Fofana, like, he plays left and he plays right. I've seen some people say like he's only a right winger. He's equally much more. We're playing Madueke at left wing. He's played 13 games there. Like, Semenyo's actually like fine on the left. He mostly picks the ball up in central-esque areas anyway, but he can play out wide as well. Like, I don't know how much I know he's more of a right winger. I understand that, but I don't know how much he's actually played on the left. But I know I've watched him a few times on the left. So I just was like, oh, I guess he's played there a bit. Yeah, he's played 51 games at right winger, 50 games at left winger, and 73 at centre forward. He's played at centre forward a lot in the Championship back in the day when he was at Bristol. But yeah, he is like equally a left winger than a right winger. And I think like some people just kind of forget that at all, like with some of these players. Like, it's like the whole thing with Rodrygo, you know. I talk to a lot of Man City fans. I've done Man City videos, and their whole ideation of signing Rodrygo is purely to play him on the right. They obviously have Doku. I mean, they have Marmoush on the left. That's their two left wingers. On the right, they have Bob and Savio, and they were going to sell Savio and play him on the right. And I was just like, why would you play Rodrygo on the right? Just buy a right winger. Like, he is a left winger. Like, I see the same with Arsenal fans sometimes. They're like, why are we buying him? Is he going to replace Saka? He's a left winger. He's just been forced to play right winger because he plays for like the best team in the world. And that's the case. Yeah, Semenyo did sign a new deal. We just put him in here because there's been some reports. But, like, you know, you sign a new deal, it doesn't necessarily mean you're guaranteed to stay. It means you're most likely not going to leave, like 99%. But anything can happen. Like, I'm just putting him in there as like an option because I don't really know other options. Yeah, I don't just like signing contracts is whatever. Like, I mean, there's rumors that if Trossard signs a new contract, if we get a good offer, we could still sell him, which is kind of bonkers to think, but that is a case. We'll put the strikers in there as well. The ones I actually think should be an option. Should put Isak in there. We'll put him in there because I think it's funny. And I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, look, I don't want Vissa, to be honest. I just don't think he fits us. I don't want to put Rodgers in because he's just in the middle of it. I guess we'll put Watkins in as well. I don't think the FFP problems are as bad as people are making out them to be. Like, I don't know, and this is just assumptions, but we've heard nothing about it other than obviously David Ornstein said a little bit about it. But ultimately, like with FFP, you can get around it pretty easily. Like, even in terms of like the homegrown problem, like City have a big homegrown problem. They're just going to get around it. Like, they will. Like, I think, like, I think if we sold like 40 to 50 mil play, like if we sold Vieira, let's say for like 20 mil, if we sold Zinchenko for like 8 mil, we sold who else? Like Nelson loan obligation, Kivior obligation loan for what, let's say like 30 mil. If we do all that, let's say that's money that's guaranteed to come in for next year for about 50 mil pounds. I think that I think we have 40 to 50 mil to spend guaranteed right now, and I think that with that we'd be fine. Like I don't know the ins and outs of FFP as much as PSR because it's just different. I don't get why they're different rules really, but it is what it is. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be because I've not heard much about it, but I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Yeah, Lukonga's got to go as well. We'll see if we get anything for him. Reece Nelson is staying. I can't see Reece Nelson staying anymore. I even think for a loan, he'll just be gone. Hopefully, Fulham's deal for Kevin falls through for £50 million. And then they just buy him. Like, I get his injury problems are crazy, but he's actually like well good enough to play for these Prem teams, which is crazy. I see Bafana says Goncalo Ramos or Lee Kang-in. Lee Kang-in is a great player, man. I've wanted Lee Kang-in as a backup for ages. But I think I want now like a proper player to come in for Havertz being injured, not a backup. Like I want a player that we were going to sign anyway in many ways. I think Lee Kang-in would have made sense if we didn't sign Madueke like as a cheaper option. But like something that needs to remember, we've been saving money all summer. Maybe not on Madueke, but we saved money on Gyökeres compared to Šeško. It's about 20 mil. We saved 15 mil on Garcia to Kepa. Mascara was only 13 mil. We did try and sign Dean Huijsen at the start of the summer. Like we saved a lot of money. Norgard, 10 mil. Like we've saved a lot of money this summer. Like, we've got to have saved it for some reason, right? Liverpool are going to spend like 400 mil. Like I think if they can spend that money, like I don't see why we can't a little bit. Yeah, this is the left wing options, the striker options, right wing. Good luck, Saka. It looks so stupid when you put it like this, like with this with the thing. I like having this. I think I'm gonna move all these players back. Get back. I think that's like a funny. Oh the go. It's just screenshot this. It's just this is our options for the forward line. It's just Saka. Well, the Xavi Simons is interesting because Xavi Simons looks like he wants to go to Chelsea. He's made that clear for like ages. He's like, I want to go Chelsea. And I don't think we'd be able to like prime away from that at the moment because the deal's like too far gone. But you never know if he's an option. I just think like if we were going to get a midfielder type, maybe like you look at a Rodgers or a Xavi Simons, but I think Eze was the perfect one and we said no. So it makes me think we're just not going to bother signing one of them players. Yeah, Liverpool have sold almost 200 mil. Like I get that. I get that they're in a position where they can spend more probably in that way. That's the thing we do need to sell, and that's the biggest problem at the club right now. But you know, it is what it is. Like we made profit last year, to be fair. So a team like our size to make profit, I feel like we would have enough leeway. I think we have enough to sign another player, but depends how big that player is going to be. That campus, yeah, I guess. I just think, I don't know. I think with how Arteta wants to play football, Odegaard is too important for it to worry about having a flashy attacking midfield player. Like I just think the press just really suffers without him sometimes. And you saw like people go on about like, well, we don't need to always be good at pressing, but like in games against United, we do. Like we were awful at pressing in that game in the weekend, and I think that we really struggle with that. I do like that shout in the chat, like Ziglova from Lille. I've always liked him. He had a bit of a down year last year, but it looks like he's going to Juventus. He is more of a right winger as well than a left winger. I think he's better at cutting aside. I think he's left footed. Good. That's actually a very good question in the chat. Okay, well, good. So Matoma for Brighton, I don't think we'll go for him. I just think like he's just too expensive and his age is just like too old for us. Ben Seguir for Monaco, I like. Boyer for Frankfurt, I like. Well, this is the thing. If we were going to go for an attacking midfielder, Ali Al-Khalouch, his name from him from Monaco. Like he would have been a great shout. Like, but the prices are big. I know City are linked with him right now, which is A bit mental considering you've got Turkey, but okay. So, should we put Muniz in? I've got Muniz here. We'll put Muniz here if you want. I've got Soloff as well if you want. We could shove everybody. I've got Kolo Muani if you want as well. Oh, his name's too big. Right, there you go. I mean, that is like probably the worst striker options I've seen in my life. Not all of them, but as a collective, that is those are rough options. Sade as well from Brentford's good. But I do think, I want to see like Luther Henry's point in the chat. Does the transfer reflect on how long Kai Havertz is out for? Like, would it be more of a winger if the injury is short or like a long if the strike is long term? I think yes and no. I think yes, it can be. If we were to sign someone like a good example of this. Like if we were to sign like an older, more like let's say for instance we signed a Watkins. If we signed a Watkins, in my opinion, that would be like right. Havertz is out for a few months, but we still have the intention of keeping Havertz long term because Watkins can come in to do a job now. If we were to sign someone like Fofana, for instance, that would make me think that Havertz is injured, maybe still for like 1 or 2 months, but like Havertz has not necessarily got a future at the club long term, and we are thinking about Fofana will come in now, we'll keep what we're doing right now, and then Trossard can leave next year or whatever's going on with that, or I know with the contract. I don't know. It's kind of complicated because it does feel like we needed a forward anyway. We wanted to sign a left winger, and this has just not only made that more prevalent, I think, but what direction are we going to go in? I believe Arsenal will sign a forward. I am much more optimistic than loads of Arsenal fans, so that's probably why I think that. It's not a guarantee by any means of that. Any means, but yeah, like I think that's not. I mean, El Khanou's like Contra. We're talking about like he's an attacking midfielder. I think if we were going to try an attacking midfielder, we would have signed a Eze or an El Khanou or a Rodgers or someone like that. I don't think he's also not. I don't think good enough for Arsenal right now. Also, we forgot this guy with Jackson. We've got to put him up front. Like, obviously, you guys are all going to want to see Jackson in the team, so got to get him in there. I do think this is a funny clip. Like, this doesn't make me laugh. It just looks so stupid. Like, with the thing. Is there a way? Wait, sorry, guys, about this. But yeah, like, I don't know. So who do you guys want as your first choice and then second choice? Because I think most of you are going to say Rodrygo as your first choice. So that, like, it's a striker or winger, depends on whatever one you want. I think most people are going to say Rodrygo is their first choice. That's why I want to kind of understand your second choice as well, because I think it'd be nice to know like who, if we don't get Rodrygo, say Rodrygo goes, nah, I'm not leaving Real Madrid, which could still be a big possibility. Is this something that you want to see? Semenyo number 1. Interested. Rodrygo, Leao. He's and Reece Jackson. But it's just funny of being there. I don't think Jackson's the worst player out of all these, but I will say, like, given the transfer, I do think it would probably be the worst one. I don't think he's the worst one out of all. I think there's a lot of these players are worse than him. I kind of just don't want Kolo Muani there, respectfully. Like, I think the rest I'm fine with. Yeah, Semenyo I get. I think when I think about Rodrygo, then Leao, Lookman, he just doesn't stop scoring. These are good shots. I think if we talk about, I do want to end on this. If we talk about what players I think are possible to get right now, if we had to, I would do this. He is probably. Oh yeah, I didn't mean to have Gyökeres up front still. I think if we're talking about options to get, these are the options I think are possible that we could get. Maybe not Leao. These are like the more legit options. I think Leao's possible if we actually tried. I don't think we're going to try though. I think with these a lot, if we wanted to, we could get them. Depending on price, like, I don't think Semenyo is going to come in, unfortunately. I think it's way too late in the market. Bournemouth are too intelligent to sell their best player this late in the market. That's why they sold all their players really early. And also, they've sold so many. I just cannot see him signing another player like that. Woklz is a good shout. I don't want to put him on here because, like, I don't really know what's going on with his situation. He was going to go to Bayern, and then they said no. I think he's like a good striker. I don't think he'll ever be an elite striker, but he's also had one good year, like out of nowhere, and it's like that thing of like him being worth loads. Some of these, I mean, he's a better. I would rather have Woklz than Vlahovic or Jackson. Fundamentally, like I agree, but but I just don't know if it's possible. Maybe should we put him on here? We'll put him on here. We'll put him on there just because it looks better. It looks. Is that how you spell his name? Woklz? I've looked at Woklz a little bit. He's massive, isn't he? He's a really good dribbler, which makes him so unique. I could see him working for Arsenal quite well, actually, to be honest. But I don't think we'll get him. He's just too expensive, I think, given his experience. Chris Wood. I don't know if we're about to. Have you seen what happens when you try and leave Nottingham Forest? I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying. I just say like I don't know if it's possible, like, to leave that club if they want you there. Sometimes, that's all I'm saying. It might be too hard. Oh yeah, we've got Viscera as well. I don't want Viscera on the thing though. Oh my god. This is the option. Harry Kane. Well, I heard reportedly that Tottenham. I heard reportedly that Newcastle did actually ask about Harry Kane, which shows the levels, like not because he's a bad player, but it shows the level of desperation that you're going for players that don't make it. Like you're just like, yeah, get him in. Like it's like going up to Barcelona and be like, can we have Lewandowski? Like, doesn't seem likely. So I'm looking at some news, just seeing if anything's happening while we're talking. Doesn't look like much is really going on. Apparently, David Ornstein said, I don't know if Arsenal being on the case for Leao. Maybe it's a smoke screen. I don't really think they're a thing anymore. Yeah, I don't know. It's very frustrating. Like I do think like going through these options has made me more annoyed about Havertz's injury. Yeah, I don't know, but like, wait, let me look at this quick report before we end. Yep, that's the report, guys. So Matt Law said this. He said, barring the sale of a player, which I like, bear in mind, I do think we will sell players. Depends on who, and the value is up for debate. But if we're looking at getting like a loan or a cheap striker option in, that is still a player in the squad. So, it doesn't really make a difference in terms of squad size, in terms of like Trossard and Martinelli, but we need to sell the dead weight. Oh, I hit my mic. We need to sell the dead weight. But here's what he says. He says, barring the sale of a player, Arsenal initially expected to look at loans and bargains to cover Havertz's injury if they receive bad news on his injury. I hate how that's worded, but yeah, okay. Jamie Vardy, anyone. So, yeah, like, it's not the best, is it, really? I mean, some of the options that we can get are loans, like maybe you just go and get Rodrygo. I hate websites and stuff. But yeah, so this is the options that we've come up with. I don't know what you guys think, but it seems like we've got a bit crazy. I do think I'm keeping Saka on the right by himself because it looks funny. Like it just looks stupid. There's just no help for Saka at all ever. But yeah, I definitely think in terms of easiness, like Vlahovic is one of the easiest ones to get here by none. I think Lookman will be one of the easiest as well. Might be. I think if you wanted to pay the extortionate amount of money, Jackson would be pretty easy to get. But no, we keep him over there. I think everyone else is going to be sort of difficult. Like I don't think they're going to be easy options at all. I mean, yeah, look, there's options. Like Yildiz, like could be an option, but like we're not going to go out and sign Yildiz, really, are we? These are like players we've even been linked to in the news recently, or like are more likely in my eyes. I just can't see a Yildiz. Like Juventus, he's their best player. We're this late in the market. These are the options you've got to look at. You can't look at like everyone anymore, unfortunately. I like Amora though. I like that shout. Like Amora's okay, but it's a squad option. Like. He's also like one of Wolfsburg's best players. Is that going to be what they want? Openda might be going to Sunderland. Moise Kean is like not that good, I don't think. Boniface is reportedly going to someone. AC Milan, is it? I actually like Boniface. I have no idea why Newcastle ever got him for him. it seems like his reputation in Europe has completely been like ruined for the 6 months. We're not getting Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy's like 40. Can Sammy play left wing too? Not really. I wouldn't really play him there, to be honest. Like, I think in the future he can develop to be a bit like that, but not really. In terms of these strikers, I don't think many of these players can actually cover that left wing side. I think Jackson can, somewhat, and that's maybe it. Maybe Watkins in certain possession styles can. I don't think any of these others. These are more like brute force strikers. Like, these are big guys. Vlahovic, Samu, Sorlov, Mateta, Muniz, Waltmada, massive guys. Isak, like they're big dons that will just put themselves about, and you're not going to want to put them out wide. In terms of wingers here, I think all of these can play up front. Maybe barring Fofana. I think the other four can definitely play up front for us. Well, yeah, he's always liked Vlahovic, though. This is the thing. Samu on the ball reminds me of Lukaku. You know, it's so funny because I said that the other day to someone, and I was like, he is like a mini Lukaku. He is like that, but I do think, given the options, going to be interesting. So yeah, that's all I basically wanted to say. Obviously, this went on for this went on very long. I think the options aren't looking great. I trust trust is a strong word. I believe in the club that they will get someone in. If that's someone that, I mean, look, maybe they just find a loan or a cheap option for a younger player that I haven't even spoke about here. That's maybe off my radar. I may be looking too big time, and maybe I've got to look smaller. Maybe that's the case. If that's the case, fine, whatever. I'm not going to hate them, but it just kind of feels like in this situation, I think we should act now. Obviously, money is dependent. Sales are dependent as well. We need to get these sales done. Really, like, be able to make these signings in the first place. But I think we should really force the issue. I think we should buy a left winger now. I think if Rodrygo's there, if Rodrygo wants to come to Arsenal, we need to make it happen. And then we can just move Trossard up front. And that can be your copium of why he has got this big pay increase for seamlessly no reason other than that. Wait, yeah. Before we leave, though, I'm going to screenshot this and put this on Twitter. Just so I see what people say on there. Do you think it'll be even funnier if I just put Højlund up front as well? Because, like, I mean, as a striker that's available, I guess he is available. Is he good? No. Jackson's a way better player. We won't put him in there because he's too trolly. But, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like with Arsenal, they're going to use this as an excuse to buy, like, some player that isn't the level that we need, to be like, well, we needed to cover the injuries. Like, that is not good enough. But we never know. It's Berta. Maybe he'll change his style up and see what he does. I appreciate you guys for coming to me on this, like, impromptu stream. I want to do more of these and kind of talk to you, but obviously I like having big discussions. I don't like having this, like, 30-minute discussion about something, like, really, like, something that, like the Trossard, for instance, yesterday. Like, I was going to do a stream with Forder, decided not to. Just didn't really like, I wanted to do my video and see how I felt through that, not, like, a whole 2-hour conversation about the Trossard thing. Now we know at least a little bit more context. It was good to have a convo about it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys as always. Please like and subscribe. All the stuff on the channel. Video today. I think a short coming out later. You know how it is. And appreciate you guys as always. Like, this is bad news, but we'll see what the club do. And you know what that means? More transfer videos are coming. Yes, yes, yes. They never end. Appreciate you guys as always there. I'll see you guys in the next one.